And we can now speak to Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who joins me from his home in Lahore. Thank you for your time, Mr. Khan. Now, we understand the police have surrounded your house. Can you tell us what the situation is at the moment, and can you confirm that you expect to be arrested again?
Well, police is around my house, not in as large numbers as they were last night. Because last night the plan was that they said there were 40 terrorists hidden in my house and they were going to come and grab these terrorists. So therefore, the whole area was surrounded by police. But what I did was I asked all the journalists beforehand, I said, come over to my house and see where the terrorists are. So that diffused the situation because clearly there were no terrorists. So that's when the police could not take action. But the answer to your question, do I expect to be re-arrested? Yes, it could happen anytime because even though I'm on bail on everything now, the police can't arrest me on any charges because the courts have given me bail. But unfortunately, right now, the law of the jungle is prevailing. Might is right. 7,500 of my workers have been arrested. All my senior leadership has been arrested. So what will happen, I don't know, but I expect to be re-arrested.
Mr. Khan, the Pakistani government says that you are sheltering some of your supporters who are accused of attacking the army. So do you reject that claim?
It is absolute nonsense. What happened was that when they illegally abducted me from the High Court precincts, it was all illegal, and the way they grabbed me, they beat all my lawyers, people got injured, as if I was some terrorist. And those images created this demonstrations all over Pakistan because my party is by far the biggest party, federal party in Pakistan. Now, what they did was they used these mass demonstrations that took place, they perpetuated violence, which is, I don't remember such violence. They shot dead 25 people, which we already know, but there are others which we can't know because then they started arresting 7,500 workers have been arrested. We don't know what's going on. All my leadership has been arrested. So they used that pretext to crush my party because this is the election year and my party's poll in the polls, it's 70% ratings right now.
Mr.
So in
Khan,
order to crush the party that we don't contest the elections, this is why all this is happening.
Mr. Khan, you've spoken about the street protests that were sparked by your arrest last week. Will you be calling for calm among your supporters to avoid further violence, or are you encouraging people to protest?
Look, the protests took place when they saw me being abducted from the precincts of the High Court by the army. That's why the protests took place. There are no protests right now. There is no public disorder. But what is happening is that there's a crackdown, unprecedented crackdown taking place. I again repeat, my entire senior leadership is in jail. They get bail from court. As they come out of the court, they again get re-arrested. There are women who've been arrested. A lot of the women living in awful conditions because it's extremely hot there. And unfortunately, right now it is a reign of terror we are facing.
Mr. Khan, I'd like to ask you
right now.
I'd like to ask you, if I may, about the dozens of cases that have been brought against you in recent months, mostly on charges of corruption, but there's also terrorism, contempt of court. I'd like to hear from you. Do you deny all of them?
Look, there are 150 cases on me. Out of those 150 cases, 4 were when I was in jail. When I was inside the jail, there were 4 more criminal cases against me. There are 40 terrorism cases against me. 15 criminal cases in one day. Even a hardened criminal could not commit 15 crimes in a day. So there are 2 corruption cases which are being contested. So, I mean, as someone who's been known in this country for 50 years, never committed one crime, certainly in the last few months, he's had 150 cases. No one believes this. People know me in this country for 50 years.
You have accused the country's military chief of being behind your last arrest, and you've also accused a senior general of being involved in a plan to kill you. These, of course, are serious accusations. Do you have evidence that supports these allegations that you've made?
The senior military intelligence officer was involved in my assassination attempt. I preempted it. I warned everyone that this is going to happen. When it did happen, I was lucky to be alive. 12 people got bullet wounds, one died, and they would not let me register a case. It was my fundamental right that the suspects who were involved, I should have registered a case so they could be investigated. They never even allowed an investigation. So how am I going to bring my evidence forward? And whatever evidence was coming through a joint investigation committee, they sabotaged it. So how am I going to bring my evidence in public? And as for the charge of the army chief, well, the army is who picked me up from the High Court illegally, ruled by the Supreme Court. And the orders to the army comes right from the top. So one man takes the decision.
Mr. Khan, your country finds itself in a political crisis right now. How do you see this crisis playing out, developing over the coming months in Pakistan?
Pakistan faces a huge political crisis, but even a bigger economic crisis, because we have never had such bad economic indicators like we have today. Our inflation now is worse than Sri Lanka when people came out on the streets. So unemployment, inflation are record in this country, especially inflation. And the answer to both the problems, the political crisis and the economic crisis, are free and fair elections. This is the election year. So already the Supreme Court had ruled there should have been elections on the 14th of May in 2 of the provinces. The government refused. They violated the Constitution. They violated the orders of the Supreme Court. So the answer to our crises are free and fair elections.
Mr. Khan, thank you so much for your time. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan.
Thank you.